Hello developers, I hope you are all doing great. Today we'll be diving into the CSS font and CSS text, key concepts of web development. I hope you're all ready to learn, so let's start coding. If you have been following this course, you are aware of a repository that we forked, so you can just go to that repository and sync changes for you to get today's notes. And if you are new, I'll put the repository link in the video description so that you can clone it and access today's notes. So without much ado, let's dive in. Once you pull the changes, you'll see a new folder here, 05 fonts. It contains one file, the readme file, and the readme contains today's notes. So I'll just create a new file here. I'll call it index.html. Also, I'll create another file. I'll call it style.css. Then I'll come to the HTML file and create my boilerplate there. Then I'll rename the title to CSS Font and Text. Also, I'll provide a link to my style sheet like that. Then now I'm all set. I'll just save my code and I'll open this readme using this markdown previewer here like that. Then I'll just close my readme. So I'll have my index.html file here, my style.css file here, and my notes here on the right. So let us start learning about CSS fonts and text. Choosing the right font for your website is important because it has a huge impact on how the readers experience your website. A right font can create a strong identity for your brand. So using a font that is easy to read is very important because font adds value to your text. So we'll learn about the first property called the font family property. And the font family property specifies the type of font a text should have. So let me create a paragraph in my body. Just create a paragraph and say this is the first paragraph. Then I'll duplicate it 5 times. Then I'll say this is the second paragraph. This is the third paragraph. This is the fourth paragraph. And this is the fifth. So here you can see I have 5 paragraphs. So let me add a class to each paragraph, a different class to each and every paragraph. Just say class. Then for the first one, I'll say first. This class, as we said earlier, is used for styling. So I'll just put different classes for me to style the paragraphs differently. I'll use the class selector. That's why I'm putting different classes on each paragraph so that I can identify them separately. So here I have 5 paragraphs, and each paragraph has a class of first, second, like that till the 5th paragraph has the class of 5th. So we're learning about the font family property. So I'll set the font family of this first paragraph, like here in the styles, by saying dots first. Just say font family. I'll just set it to serif. Let me set to sans serif because I think serif is the default in my browser. So I'll just set to sans serif. Now let's go to the browser and see how this will look like. So if you go to the browser, let me zoom mine. I think it's not clear. You can see that the first paragraph has a different font as the rest of the paragraphs. This first one is a little bit, I don't know, I can say it's neat. According to me, it's clearer than the other. The font is good, it's beautiful than these other ones. And this one is called the sans serif font. These other ones are the serif ones. So in my browser, the serif is the default font. You can see if I put, where is it, this first paragraph, if I change the font family here to serif, like that, you can see it will look like the rest of the paragraphs because serif is the default font family of my browser. Select serif by default. So I can just return it to sans serif like that, so that you can see the difference of this first one and the rest. Let's select this first one. Font family sans serif sans like that. So you can see the difference from the first one and the rest. And that is how you add a font family to your text. So let's talk about more about these fonts, and we'll talk about the fallback fonts. Now that you know how to change the font families of a text, let us talk about the generic font family. Generic font families in CSS are categories of fonts that are defined based on their general characteristics. And most times these generic font families they are used to provide a fallback options when a specific font is not available on a user's device. So you can see the next topic is fallback. But before we talk about fallback, let us talk about these generic font families. There are 5. I'll just put each in every class that we have so that you can see the difference between the generic font families. So the first one, let me say in the second paragraph like that. Second, and I'll put a font family of. You've already looked at sans serif, so now let's put serif. But I think also serif, I've already seen how it looks like. So the third one, we put monospace. These ones I'm putting them, they're the generic ones. And I said the generic are mostly used for fallback. There's this one called cursive. Then there's the other one called fantasy. So these ones here, these 5 are the generic font families. And as you have said earlier, they're just a category of fonts that are defined based on their general characteristics, and they're used as fallback. We can see how they're used as fallback when we talk about the fallback fonts. But now let's just see how they look like. Let me just go to the browser and see how these fonts look like. So if you go to the browser, you can see that all the paragraphs have different font families. The first one here is the sans serif. You can see it has clean lines and they look like they're modern compared to the sans serif. This sans serif, they have a small stroke at the edges of each letter. You can see at this T, there's these small strokes. Also in H, there's this a stroke. Also at the bottom, there are these small strokes. At the end of every letter, you can see there are some strokes. And that is how you can notice the serif ones. And in the monospace, this one is the monospace one. The monospace, letters have same fixed width. All the letters have the same fixed width. The width is the same. Distance from here to here is same as distance from here to here. Also the I, you can see the width is the same because they have extended the bottom dash, the dash at the bottom. And they create a mechanical look. This one's the monospace. This the cursive imitate human handwriting. These ones. So you can see the lines are not perfectly straight. You can see this line is not perfectly straight because they imitate humans, and humans can't write perfect straight lines, most of them, unless they use a ruler. But using freehand, it's hard for you to write a perfect line. So this font here mimics the human's handwriting. And this other one, fantasy, that is for decorative or playful. You can see they are thick and they are stylish. So these 5 here are what we call the generic font family. So now let us learn about fallback and see how this generic font family are important for fallback options. Before we talk about the fallback fonts, let us talk about the web-safe fonts. Web-safe fonts are fonts that are universally installed across all browsers and devices. Every browser has some fonts that are installed in that browser, and also all devices have some fonts that are installed on those devices. So these web-safe fonts are fonts that are installed in almost all browsers and all devices. But you can see in the notes it says that there are no 100% completely web fonts. There's no single font that you can say that it's 100% safe, because you might get there's some browser that does not have that font. That's why you're saying that there are no 100% web safe fonts. Now that you know about the web safe fonts, let us talk about the fallback. So these fallback fonts are always used in case the font that you provide is not found in that device or the browser you're using. As you have said, these 5 fonts here are just generic fonts, and sans serif can be used as a fallback for some other fonts. Also serif, also monospace, all of them can be used for some fonts. And these fonts, they are almost the same. They're not the same, but they kind of look the same. Like sans serif, no, the serif one, you have seen that the serif looks like Times New Roman. They're similar, but there's small difference. Also Georgia and the Garamond, they almost look the same as sans serif. So when you provide here the font family here, I can provide the font family here to be like Times New Roman. You can see my VS Code automatically suggests for me some fonts. You can see if I provide Times New Roman, but I can put the serif as a fallback options, because the serif looks the same as Times New Roman. So if the browser or the device does not have this Times New Roman font, it will look for this Times font. If the Times font is not there, it will look for the serif font. And the serif, I can say it's almost web safe, although I've said there's no 100% web safe fonts, but this serif is available in many devices. So that's how you can use the fallback fonts. A fallback font is a font that will be displayed in case the font that you provide is not available. Also, the fallback for this serif, you can see the serif. No, now this one is for the serif. Now let us put here sans serif. Now sans serif is similar to this Arial. There's a font called Arial. So you can see Arial, this Helvetica, and sans serif, they're similar. So if you provide Arial, you can provide sans serif as the fallback options, because although they're different fonts, but they're kinda the same. Also, this monospace, there's a font, I think in Node it's called Comic Sans, but here there's a font called Coria. This one, Coria. Also, there's another one called Lucida Console. This one here, Lucida Sans, not Lucida Sans, Lucida Console. Lucida Console. I think my browser is refusing to detect that font, so I'll just stay with Coria. So you can see Coria is, you can provide a monospace as the fallback of this Coria. And this cursive, I've said cursive, they mimic the human handwriting. And most times, this cursive, there's this one called, let me just write cursive and see if there's some fallback options for cursive. My browser does not, my VS Code does not provide some fallback options. But there's another one called brush. I don't know brush what. Brush. I think my brother is refusing to provide some options, but that is how you use the fallback. You can see VS Code suggested all these fonts, and the fallback is always sans serif. So serif and sans serif are the most fonts used for fallback, because most of the devices have the serif ones or the sans serif installed. You can notice that some fonts I put quotes around them, and other there's no quotes. So if a font has some spaces between them, like this Times New Roman, there's space between Times and New and Roman, so that the browser can know that it is one name. You have to provide it in quotes, so that you cannot read them as different names. You know, there's a font called Times. There's this one font called Times. So if you just write Times, it might think it's this font. But this one is Times New Roman. So you can just write Times New Roman, then you surround it in quotes. Same to this Korea New and other fonts that have space between them. Surround them with quotes. And that is it with the fallback fonts. The next property we look at is the font style property. So this font style is used to specify which style you want your font to be displayed. The default style is usually normal. And normal, let me just put here font style. You can see these are the variable options for the font style. The default one is usually normal. Normal is the text is shown how it's supposed to be shown, like the normal way. And there's this italic and oblique. Italic and oblique, both of them show text that is leaning. The italic and oblique they're not the same, but they're almost the same. You can see they're not saying that in oblique the text is leaning. Oblique is very similar to italic but less supported. So this oblique is not supported by most browsers. So the one that is supported by most browsers is italic. So I'll just put my font to be normal. Then I'll save. Then let's go to the browser and see how this will look like. And also I'll use the developer options to change this font style to various styles in the developer options. So let's now go to the browser. So if you go to the browser, you can see that the generic fonts are similar to the ones that we put, but you can see this third paragraph, it took the career new, didn't take the monospace. The monospace one is, let me just edit, you can see the difference between the monospace. Let me just delete all this and leave how the monospace is. This is how the monospace is. You can see it's different from how it was. It's different from this one. Let me just undo it. It was career new. That, you can see this one is different from the monospace, but they're just almost the same but not the same. And that is why we call it a fallback font. But now we're talking about the font style. Let me click this first paragraph. So you can see the font style is normal, and this is the default one. So if I change the font style here to maybe italic, you can see now the text slants to the right. And if I change it to the other one is called oblique, you can see also the text slant to the right. So I'm not seeing the difference between the italic and the oblique. They're almost the same, but they're different names. It says that the oblique is less supported by most browsers, so you use italic instead of oblique. But you can see my browser supports all of them. So that is it with the font style. Let's look at the next property. The next property is the font weight. Here, font weight. So font weight specifies the weight a font can have. Like, let me just put some weight in the second one. I saw the second one was a little bit lighter, so I can add some weight there. Say font weight, and font weight ranges from 100 to 900. It increases by 100 each. So 100 is lighter, 900 is bolder. You can also choose these predefined values like bold, and lighter. So I think bold is similar to this 500 and bold is similar to this 900. Then lighter is similar to the 100, like that. So I'll just put my font weight there to be 200. Then let me save and let's go to the browser and you can test the other font weights in the developer options. So if you go to the browser, you can see the second paragraph has some little weight. So if I adjust this weight to, let's say, 500, let me adjust the weight to 500 and you can see how it will look like. It's no difference. Let me adjust to 900. You can see now it's now thick because 900 is bolder. You can also choose the values like bold. I can just set this to bold like that. You can see how it appears. That is bold. Then bolder. You can set also to bolder like that. So that is how you change the font weight of any element. But I wanted to change this third one because the third one is the one that was light. I'll just send the third one in the developer options like this. Just add some there, then I write font weight. Now I'll put, let's say, 500 font weight in the third paragraph. You can see there's no change. Let me just put it to 700. You can see it's a little bit bolder now than before. And also you can just put the generic ones like bolder, like that. And that is how you change the font weight of any paragraph. So I think you've understood using the font weight property. The next property that we look at is the font size property. And this font size property is used to set the size of the fonts. And it can take various values. Let me just write font size and you can see the values that it can take. That this value is large, larger, medium, small, extra large, extra small, extra large, and extra small. But also you can define your values by using like 20 pixels like that. So I'll just put mine 20 pixels and let me save. Let's go to the browser and see how it will look like. We'll also look at the various options in the developer options. If you look at the browser, you can see that the third paragraph is now larger than the rest of them because we put this font size of 20 pixels. So if I increase the font size, let's say 50 pixels, it will be extra large. Even it almost overflows. You can see you can increase the font size using the font size property. Also, there's this predefined values like, let's say large like that. That is large. Then there's larger. It increases. Then there's this extra large x. Then dash extra large. It's not there. How is it written? Extra large like that. Extra large. And there's extra large, double X, then large. And those are the predefined values. There's this extra small, it will be very small. Then there's extra small, it will be extremely small so that it will not be visible. Then there's this extra, there triple X, extra, 3 X's are not supported. If you see there's an exclamation, it means that this value is not there. So these are the values that you can use for there. You can see there's extra large, but there's no extra small. There's 3 X's then large, but there's not 3 X's then small. I'm also learning. So that is how you adjust the font size of the. I'll leave mine to be extra large. Or is it X large? Like that. That is how you adjust the font size of the text. And use the font size property. So I think you're gonna suit the font size property. The next thing that we'll learn is this thing called Google Fonts. Sometimes you don't want the standard fonts that are available in HTML. This one that you used here are the standard fonts in HTML. There are many. But sometimes you want to use some external fonts, like for example in Google, there are fonts called Google Fonts. For example, you want to use some external fonts, let's say from Google. That is what you're learning today, how to use the external fonts, like example, the Google Fonts. So let me go to the browser and show you how you can use the Google Fonts. But yeah, keep in mind that the things that we write here in the developer options won't reflect to our code unless we copy this code and paste it to our code. But if you write something in the developer options, it won't persist to your code. This here is just used to test a variety of options and see what works for you. Then the one that works for you, you copy that and write in your code. So if you just write code here, it won't write in your Visual Studio Code. So that was just a reminder. So to access the Google Fonts, you can just open a new tab and then write there Google Fonts, like that. Then select the links for fonts.google.com. I think it will be the first link. Click on that link. Once you click on that link, it will open the Google Fonts, and you can see there's variety of fonts here. All these fonts, you can use all these fonts. All of them are available at Google. All of these, even these funny ones like this one here. So someone else who's very fun here. All these fonts you can use them. My favorite is this one called Montserrat. Mon, not Mon. This one. This is my favorite one, and you can see there's variety of options available there. Different. You can see this one has a thin, then 100. This 100 is for the font weight. You can see thin, extra light 200. This one 200 that's for as for the font weight. This one's italic for the font style, and this thin is for the, I think, font weight also. You can see they're there, so I can choose any one that I want. But there's this font called Sophia. I use Sophia for demonstration. Sophia. It's very beautiful font. Yeah. So this, for example, if I want to this font is not available in the normal HTML. You have to outsource it. For example, I'll take it from Google. So if I want this font, I can either download this family. I can either download the font family, I save it to my file, then I'll just use it directly, or there's options here. First select the one that you want, but you can see this for the Sophia it's just one. There's no variety of options like the Montserrat. This only has this 400. Does not have 200, 500. It only has the 400 ones. So I'll just click on this, select regular 400. Then once I click on that, this tab will open up. and it gives me two options. One, I can embed it to my head of my HTML using this link that they give me here, or I can use this import and put it at the head of my here. I can either use this import or this link. This import, you put it in at the top of your CSS. This one you put at the top of your HTML. So I'll just use this link one. I'll just copy this link. Then I'll go to my browser and paste it. So now let us go to our browser, and not to my browser, to my VS Code, and paste this code we copied at the head of our VS Code. So once you are in Visual Studio Code, you can go to your HTML file. Here's my HTML file. Then at the head, this is the head tag. We talked about this head tag. You can paste the code there. You can see it's just a link, like how we linked CSS. It's a link to the Google Fonts. You can see the href is an online href. That means for you to access this one, you need some internet, because it's fetching them from online. If you don't want to access them offline, you should download the font family in your project, or you can download it and save it here for you to use it all offline. But I assume everyone has the internet, so I'll just use the links. And once I've used the links, I can simply just use the fonts. I think it was Sophia, so I'll just type here Sophia. And you'll notice that I put it in quotes because it is not the standard font in HTML, so I have to surround it in quotes to show that it is not the standard one. So let's go to the browser and see how this Sophia looks like. Now if you go to the browser, you can see that my font, this is the 5th paragraph, has the stylish Sophia font. And that is how you can use a font from Google. Just go to Google, search your favorite font, select the weight that you want, either 400 or 200, select it. We've already learned about weights and how the 200 differs from the 400. You can just select the one that you want. Then you copy the link, paste it in the head of your HTML, then use it. But surround the font name in quotes, because it is not a standard HTML font. Yeah, that is how you use the Google fonts. And I think that is it with the Google fonts. Now let's talk about the CSS text. So the next thing that we learn is the CSS text, and the first property is the text color. So for you to add a color to a text, let me add to this color to this text. I'll just say color, then the color that I want, maybe blue, and that way I'll have added color to my text. I think we already did this, so I'll just go to the next. Oh, there's this here background color. Where is it? This background color. We also did this. For you to add a background color, you can just type there background color. Then my favorite is blurry wood, like that. So this color and background color we already did in the previous classes, so I'll not repeat them. Let us learn new things. So the new thing here is the text alignment. So text alignment is used to set the horizontal alignment of a text. So for example, this here, the 3rd paragraph, I can say text alignment. This one, text align. Then I can choose the center, left, right, or the default one is usually left. So let me put the default, then we'll change the rest of the developer options. So let me save and go to the browser and see how this text align has the various values. So let me go to the browser. So if you go to the browser, you can see that the 3rd paragraph has a color of blue. We set this one using the color property, and it has a background color of blurry wood. We said this is the background color property. Also, there's this text align here. By default, it is left. So I can change it to right. Let me put right. You can see, oh, this is the 3rd paragraph that we put text align. Oh, here is it. It goes to the right. Even if you add some text, you can see it's on the right. I think you have seen how the right is. The text is aligned to the right side. You can put center. The text will be centered. Let me just decrease the font size. Let me put it to be a little bit smaller. Let me say 5 pixels so that you can see how it moves. I think you can see it like that. Let me zoom in. You can see the text here is as the middle here, center. If I put left, it was at the left. If I put right, it will be at the right. Then there's this one called justified. Justify. That is how justify is. Justify leaves even spaces to the left and to the right. Unless we put this paragraph to be a huge paragraph, is when you can see how I'll just increase the font size for you to see how justifies look like. Let me say 20. 20 pixels. That is how justified is. So that are the text align properties. So let us look at the next property, that is, let us look at the next property. You can see here in the notes they explain how the justify is. And justify is mostly used to write like articles like magazines and the rest. That is why you use justify. So our next property is the vertical align property. And the vertical align sets the vertical alignment of an element. So let's just maintain the third one. Say vertical align. You can see these are the available options: auto, baseline, bottom, and stuff. By default it is auto. So if you put baseline, but this particular line is mostly used with images. So if you put align baseline, it will be at the bottom. If you put align top, it will be at the top, like that. Base align, vertical align. There's this baseline, bottom, middle, sub, super. But this works when you have something like an image and a text, and you want the text to be at the bottom. You can say vertical line, baseline, like that. So since you don't have an image, you'll not look at this one. Just comment it out. But that is how it works. The next one is the text decoration. This text decoration, we talked about it when we were styling the links. And if you remember, when we talked about the links, what is the text decoration? Text decoration. In links, by default, links are underlined. So if you want to remove the underline in links, you put text decoration, none. But today we look at different. Let us leave it at none. This is the default one in text. But in links, the default one is underline. So in normal text, the default one is none. So let's go to the browser and see the available options. So if you go to the browser, you can see the decoration is none, but I can put the underline, and there'll be an underline. This is called overline. The line will be on top. And you can also put overline and underline. Let me just reduce the pixels, or let me just drag this one this way. There, I think that is enough. So you can see the overline is there on top, underline was below the line. Then there's this one called line through. Line through. It crosses the line, and you can also put two lines, maybe put overline and underline at the same time. So there'll be a line over and a line under. And that is how you use the text decoration. But remember, we talked about the ins and the del elements in HTML. So by default, the del element is line through. That is how the del element is styled by default. Then the ins element, by default, they are underlined. So if you want to change how this normal paragraph behaves, instead of using the dels and the ins, you can also decorate the text using the text decoration property. That is how you use the text decoration property. The other property that we'll talk about is the text transform property. And the text transform property can be used to specify whether you want your text to be uppercase, lowercase, or capitalized. So let me put the text transform in the third paragraph also. Let's say text transform. Or let's use another paragraph. Let's use the second paragraph. So the second paragraph is dormant. Say text transform. The default one is none. None means how you write your text is how it will appear. So let me go to the browser and change the different values of that text transform property. So if I go to the browser, you can see that the second paragraph is the way that it was. Nothing has happened because that is the default value of text transform. But if I put here lowercase, you can see all the text will be in lowercase. Keep in mind that we wrote the text. Here is how we wrote the text. This is how we wrote the text here. This is the second. The T was capital, but now since we have transformed it to lowercase, everything will be lowercase. Same to how we put here uppercase, and everything will be uppercase. I hope you can see the difference. Then there's this one called capitalize. This one capitalizes the first letter of every word. And those are the options for the text transform. So let's look at the next property. The next property that we look at is the letter spacing. And the letter spacing property is used to specify the space between characters in a text. So I'll just come here in the second and say letter spacing. Then these are the available options. You can say normal, this is the default one, but you can just provide some values. Let's say 20 pixels. You see how the space will be too large. We'll adjust it in the developer options. So let me save and go to the browser. If you go to the browser, you can see that the space between each text is 20 pixels. You can see it looks weird. So we'll just adjust. That was the second paragraph. We'll just adjust here the spacing and put the normal one. I think is 5 pixels. I think that 5 is okay. You can read it, and there's enough space between the letters, and that is how you can adjust the letter spacing for any text in HTML using CSS. The next property is the line height property, and the line height property is used to specify the space between lines. So let me just put here line height. Like I said, if you put any text, you'll see the available options there. You can see the available options is either normal, this is the normal one, and also you can put there your own values. So I'll just put here 20 pixels. Remember that here we put 5 pixels in the developer options, but since we did not copy the code, it will not display in the VS Code. So you have to change also the value in the VS Code, because as we said earlier, if you change any value in the developer options, it does not reflect in your code. So you have to put this change here also in the code. So I've put the line height to 20 pixels. Let us go to the browser and see how the line height is. You can see in the browser the space between these lines is 20 pixels. Let me adjust it to put a higher value for you to see the difference. If I put like 50 pixels, you can see the space is increased, and that is how you change the line height. You can see this space here is too large because it changed the line height property. And if you remove this one, you can see that is how the default is. But if you put the line height, you see there's some space that is added, and that is how you apply the line height to your text. So let's look at the next property. The next property and also the last property for today will be the text shadow. So let me write text shadow here. Text shadow, here it is. So text shadow property adds a shadow to a text. So it takes some values you can see in the notes. It takes the first value is the horizontal shadow, then there's the vertical shadow, then there's the blur effect, and the blur effect you can see it is in square bracket, and when something is in square bracket, it means that it is optional. So there's the horizontal shadow, vertical shadow, then the blur effect is optional, and also you can put the color. So first I'll just put here 1 pixel for the horizontal, and also 1 pixel for the vertical. Let me just save. I'll not provide the color. Let me just save. And if you don't provide the color, by default you take the color of the text. Let me save and go to the browser and see how this is. So you can see in the browser that this text here has a shadow of 1 pixel and 1 pixel on both sides. So I can put here, I can add the color. Let me just put a red color for you to see that blend, or a blue one. Let me just put the red one. I think red blends well with black. You can see now if I put a color, the shadow will be red in color. And as we have said before, there's this option here for the blur option. So if I want that to be blurred, I can put maybe blur. Let me put blur for 2 pixels. You can see how it looks like. It looks, according to me, it looks fine. So there's a shadow, and the shadow will be red in color, that it will be blurred by 2 pixels. If you increase the blur level, if I put, let's say 5 pixels, you can see how it will look like. It will exceed. It will be not visible. The red will be faint because I increased the blur. So according to me, this 2 pixels is okay. Just put your 2 pixels. I think that one is okay. And that is how you add text shadow to your text. I think that is it with the text shadow. So now, as you know, today is the end of the week. It's Friday, and since it's Friday, we'll have a project for you to do. So let me just go to the notes and see what the project was. The sixth project was to build a project similar to this one for the MDN. I think in the first week of learning HTML, we build this project, and now it's time for us to style the project that we built on week 1 of HTML. It's time to style that project. So let me show you how this one is styled, then you can know how you style yours. So here is the page. This is the page that we built on the first day of HTML, and now it is styled. And also I hope you have the same, not the same, you have something similar to this. And when you build the one that you built in HTML, I want you to go back to that repo and now style it. You can see here they put a background color, they added text shadow. You can see this one is centered. It's aligned at the text align center. There's text shadow there. There's also this border. There's a background color in the main container. Then there's this other container that is also at the center. I think they used margin 0 auto. You can just refer to the previous classes and apply all the things that you are taught in this week about CSS. And I think you submit your projects. I'm eager to see your projects. So that is it for today's class. See you in the next class. Peace out.